Two of the top three teams in the Eastern Conference are in Montclair, New Jersey, as Red Bull New York are still perfect in their first 6 matches, while Columbus Crew 2 have already taken huge strides in their 2-season turnaround as the number 3 team in the East. MLS Next Pro Match Week 8 is at MSU Soccer Park. Hello and welcome, I'm Ryan Lee. Thanks for joining us. Both of these teams are on absolute heaters to start off the 2026 campaign. For Red Bull New York, it's a chance to show that they are still the top dog across all of MLS Next Pro. While for Columbus Crew 2 on the other end, trying to recover from that dismal season in 2025 where they were amongst the bottom teams in the Eastern Conference. In year 2 of Federico Higuain's tenure, he's turned them into one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference, and they have a heavy battle against a Red Bull New York team that are making a trio of changes from the last matchup against Cincinnati. Top goal scorer Rold Mitchell takes his spot in centering the forward group, while Rojas is alongside him, who's on an absolute heater with 3 goal contributions in his last 3. 2 new bodies on the D, with Omar Valencia making his 3rd Next Pro start with his 5 appearances with the first team, and Julian Bazan makes his debut with Red Bull New York's organization, coming from the first division in Colombia. Aiden Stokes, he's perfect across 3 starts this season. As for Crew 2, only a singular change. Chase Adams still is well on pace for a double-digit goal season for the 3rd consecutive year, and Bombley has been alongside him the entire way through as a leader on and off the field. Expect him to work forward for the Crew. Alex Gimbel is the lone change in the back for Federico Higuain. He has 16 appearances across 2 seasons with Crew 2, and Luke Pruder back between the pipes. He is in for back-to-back games, including a win the last time out against New England. We make our way at center of MSU Soccer Park. Red Bull New York, 4 wins, 2 losses in the shootout. Still yet to have a game end without a point in the 2026 campaign after being the reigning champs from a year ago. Already back on pace to do what they did last year, a heavy favorite to repeat in Next Pro, and a lot of that due to the overall organizational cohesion top to bottom between the first and second team. Columbus Crew 2 on the other end, after having that tough 2025 campaign where they were amongst the bottom teams in MLS Next Pro, they have rebounded quite nicely into one of the top teams in the league, already catapulting themselves into a top 3 position in the initial 7 matches of the year. Already a 4-2-1 start, and they have a chance to surpass their win total from last year with only 5 total wins in 2025. We're Crew 2. Red Bull New York 2 are going to be in the black left to right. They'll operate. Columbus Crew 2, yellow and black from right to left. Ryan Lee and our entire MLS Next Pro crew are here in MSU Soccer Park in Montclair, New Jersey. Thank you so much for joining us on a relatively calm 59-degree day in Montclair. Not a lot of wind, pretty sunny throughout the entire day, so perfect conditions for a Sunday. Red Bull New York 2, as mentioned, still yet to find a loss in regulation, only 2 times in the shootout. But that pair of shootout losses were sandwiched in between a pair of wins, including the last 2 that they've had. 3-1 back here against Cincinnati last time out, and a 2-1 win on the road in New England against the Revs. First touch is made by Julian Bazan, the 20-year-old from Colombia. Came to Red Bull New York from Pereira of the top tier. Making his debut, Bazan, for the Red Bull organization as a whole. Hasn't played with the first or second team until today. Red Bull back on, down the line, looking for Yangar. Couldn't connect. Chase Rogers in the way. Chris Rogers pardon as he attempts the clearance. Zenge, a very promising prospect for Columbus, has already popped off for 4 goals in his first 6 games in Next Pro play. And a bit of a misplay up front as Adams couldn't keep in. Aiden Stokes is the man back between the pipes for Red Bull. 2 wins and a PK loss across his 3 starts in the 2026 campaign. A very illustrious career already in MLS Next Pro. Having been with the Red Bull organization since 2023, but has really made his contributions grow within the last 3 years. Nalic brings Mitchell ahead. Mitchell leads the way for Nalic. Centering attempt for Yangar gets blocked. Eventually cleared. Aidu Giamfi cleans up. Bombley. Zenge dropped. We're 7 games into the season for Columbus Crew 2. Already a significantly better start to the year than last. I think Pruder had to be careful for that one, but for Pruder, starts in back-to-back, including the win last time out against New England, the 2nd straight win. As Yangar gets it to goal, Pruder swat out, Yangar, another try gets blocked. Nalic is back. Rojas, top of the box. Offside for New York. Already a little bit of feistiness early on, especially from the New York attack. Trying to put some pressure on Pruder, the 24-year-old from Redondo Beach, California. In his 2nd season with Columbus Crew, spent part of last year into the USL Championship on loan to Indy 11, where he got into 4 games with the 11. But has been brought back, has been the primary starter for Federico Higuain, started 7 of 8 so far this year. Zenge has it back. As Chirinos took a spill. That 2025 campaign for Columbus was the first time as a 2nd team they ever missed the playoffs. In the 3 years prior to that, they hadn't made it any shorter than the Eastern Conference Final. The spot where they got eliminated in 2024, made the final in 23 but couldn't beat Austin, and then in 22 where they won it all. Already rebounding back in nice form. A nice wiggle through by Zach Zenge to escape. Gets around Bazan. Zenge to center, got the clip. Taken away by Omar Valencia. As Modelo touches it out of play, returns to the Crew. Bombley steps ahead, has help from Adams, brings Bombley free, keeps it in play, has eyes from Bazan. Adams into the mix, centering feed, couldn't find its way to Zenge. Worth the clip. Rojas, the sweep. With room, Andy Rojas, the Costa Rican international, splits it out. Wanting to go, Yangar clips it. Too far, Alex Gimbel recovers back. Worth has it dispossessed, starting the attack. Chirinos leading the way for Zenge. Zenge just missed. He had Boz on beat, but couldn't get it through. And the Crew are starting to threaten. Zach Zenge, as we mentioned, he's been on a heater with 4 goals in the first 6 games of his first season in Next Pro for the former Georgetown Hoya. Zenge went back to the NCAA after being drafted in the mid-rounds by Columbus in 2024. And he came back to Georgetown in a huge way by being a unanimously voted Big East midfielder of the year, leading the Big East in goals, assists, and points. Intended feed going towards Bobley, but Red Bull recovered back nicely. Mitchell eyed it, Rogers clears it. Columbus still looking for space, New York closes in. You go from 3 coaches for New York within the last 12 months or so, between starting the year last year with Ibra Sakagia, changing its way to Michael Bradley after Sakagia made his way to the first team as an assistant, and then with Michael Bradley taking over the reins with the first team, that allows Dominic Vollert to lead the way for the second team. And no matter how many times they have to shuffle things around because of the overall organizational changes with New York, for Coach Vollert, he mentioned that it's the club and the players that really start the standard, and how the expectations for both him and the club are just about educating and being demanding, getting the most out of these guys, and they've really absorbed it greatly to wonderful results over the last couple of years for Red Bull. Worth, top of the area, slipping it through. Yangar gets free, but he declined the shot. Doesn't matter, he's offside. You could argue with the spot that Yangar was on, that would have been a shot to at least attempt the try to goal. At the very least to get him on the board, but he has produced quite nicely so far this year with his pair of goals. But still looking to itch that scratch to return to the first team, where he had 21 total appearances with the first team of Red Bull New York last year, still yet to make it the call up this year. And that's the forward Yangar, the Norwegian. Dead ball spot. Chirinos waves off Rincon. Chirinos way back, headed back to the middle. Couldn't get by Bazan. He chops it out for a throw. Columbus look to continue building. Despite the tough results of a 5-17-6 season last year for Columbus, Federico Higuain said that he had a feeling that this team were really solid on and off the field, and he knew that they could play going into the year. There were just some things that were not connecting, as the team was so young, they were so fresh. They had a lot of guys in their first years, either from the academy or from the NCAA, and they just couldn't find that recipe for the entire season. But with all the reps, taking the losses, having them humble you throughout the way and teach you those tough lessons early on, has allowed Columbus to recoup. Pruder went off his own man, recovered by Mitchell, going for goal, but missed. That was a near disaster for Columbus, but Roald Mitchell could not make them suffer for it. This portion of the match is brought to you by Sports Illustrated Tickets. One of 10 matches in match week 8, including 8 on the Sunday slate. Comes here to MSU Soccer Park. Hafa slips it by for Adu Giampi. Chirinos helping out. Elliott almost coughed it up. Scrappy at center. Cadigan in the mix. Red Bull win it back. Valencia has Yangar wide. Modelo follows up. Modelo has Yangar, that's where he'll go. Wiggles around Rincon. And they retreat back to center. Bombley creating pressure, but Rojas takes it back to the results of a yellow card. A yellow card against Columbus to open up the first quarter hour.
Pay your attention, please. A yellow card has been assessed to Columbus Crew 2, number 46, Chase Adams, in the 15th minute.
It was Chase Adams who will take the first yellow card of the match about 15 minutes in. Sent to the box, punched out by Pruder. Skips its way to the sideline for a... We have another whistle as we have a man down inside the box. They want to see if it's a potential head injury for Dennis Yangar. And you saw the head official, Mario Maric, he pointed to the head, maybe trying to evaluate a potential head injury. Let's take a look back at the free kick on how Yangar potentially could have gotten knocked down. In the middle of the area. Oh yeah, and he went for the jump ball and he collided with Pruder coming way out of the 6-yard box where he started. Just an honest play between Yangar and Pruder. Yangar coming to this organization from the 2nd division of Norway with Odds BK, his previous club after coming to New York in 2024. Still a stoppage for the throw-in on the sideline. Yangor still gets some evaluation, so it's a temporary 11v10 favoring Columbus. Modelo escapes Gimbal, has room, centering feed, couldn't get there. Hesitation from Nelic, cycle back Cadigan, around for Worth. Still 10v11 for the injury to Yangar. But Red Bull still pressing. Yangar back on the pitch. We're back to even. Worth loads up and scores! Nate Worth whips one in as he gets his first goal of the year and the first goal for Red Bull. New York were finding ways to get pressure, especially in about the last 5 minutes. Right after coming onto the pitch for a potential head injury, Dennis Yangor drops it back for Nate Worth, who slots it home. And just like that, New York have scored first, a spot where they've been perfect all season long. 5 games where they've scored first, and 4 of them they've won, the 5th one being today. An outstanding start for Red Bull New York. They had a top 5 offensive unit going into today. 14 goals in 6 matches to open the year, which was top 4 in Next Pro. Open up the scoring again. It's 1-0, just a wee past the quarter hour.
19 minutes by number 80, Nate Worth. The assist for number 22, Dennis Yangar. Red Bull New York 2-1.
So it is Worth from Yangar as the official marking of that goal. And for Columbus Crew, they got to find ways to respond. They haven't yet to muster up any sort of points from losing spots at all this year, Columbus. If you took this team from a year ago, they might have had those situations just completely snowball against them, but they've been able to find ways to, at the very least, scrape by game in and game out. Especially from a game in New England where Coach Higuain said that they were really organized defensively, and how one of their real strengths was recovering on balls and taking over on New England's miscues. They have been able to do that for the most part, but when you have the excellent play that New York had, that can be really tough to battle against, as Worth gets locked and loaded again for a set piece outside the area, only about 3 minutes after he just scored. You can hear the composer of the Columbus defense organizationally. It's Worth. Top of the area, couldn't get past the Crew. Valencia from range, and it's right to the hands of Pruder. But that had a whip on it, had that been away from Luke Pruder. Omar Valencia, this is his 3rd stint with the New York Red Bulls. He's actually been loaned here twice when he was with his club Plaza Amador in Panama. This is his 3rd time coming to New York as a property of his Panamanian club. Rojas, Rincon all over, Bombly assists. Back on for Rojas. Took a clip, didn't make its way to Mitchell. Rincon dragged down. This portion of the match is brought to you by Toyota. 4-0-2 to start the season for Red Bull New York. 4-2-1 to start the year for Columbus Crew 2. It was Nate Worth in the 19th minute with the assist from Dennis Yangar to start the scoring here at MSU Soccer Park in match week 8. Modelo up the gut with speed, couldn't lay it out for Yangar. But you can see the overall aggressiveness from Dominic Vollert's side, the first-year German head coach for Red Bull. Spent the last couple of seasons with the first team as an assistant. And he had some really interesting points to make when we talked to him in the midweek. Especially noting how it can be really difficult to take the head coaching gig and have to take over for the high standard that Michael Bradley set with this team, and even as a reigning champ. Talked about how this current iteration of Red Bull 2, the one that's coming off a championship, is very similar to that finals team with Red Bull's top team in 2024 when they made it all the way to MLS Cup, saying that the hunger and the intense environment really mirror each other. Especially how everyone just wants to push each other all the time, especially in a family environment. You can say certain things and joke around and have that balance of it all. And you know that if they're going to be tough on each other, no one's going to take it personally, because that's just how you grow together in the game. That dichotomy of the happiness to come to work and the intensity of game time is what allowed New York Red Bull to be successful in MLS play to that finals loss in 2024, to Red Bull 2 succeeding all the way in 25. Adams leads the way, has eyes by Sanchez. Adams sends it across, Bombley controls, escapes. Bombley couldn't get free, Rincon couldn't follow through. All the way down for Yangar. He's got a lane. 3v3 for Red Bull. Widens. Dennis Nelic. Worth follows up. Nelic the try, it scores! What a way to get your first goal, Dennis Nelic. A nifty one from the Academy product, and Red Bull have doubled their lead. This is an excellent rush by Dennis Nelic. Top of the box, high archer, finds the spot at the end of the rainbow to perfectly nestle it into the bottom corner. 2 years from the academy for the 18-year-old Dennis Nelic. What an excellent shot that was. And Red Bull are trying to really pepper things onto Luke Pruder. Already 6 shots attempted and 4 on target versus Columbus's 1 shot. That was back in the opening dozen minutes.
Scored in the 25th minute by number 92, Dennis Nelic. Red Bull New York 2, Columbus Crew 2-0.
These two played each other back in match week 1 to the result of a New York win 4-2 to open the season on opening day. Quick ball movement from New York. Flashback to that March 1st date. It was tied at 1-1 in the opening 20 minutes of the game. However, New York would just pour it on at the end of the first half with 3 goals in about 15 minutes. to take a 4-1 lead, and Columbus would attempt to come back, but to no avail. Adams, the interception at center, collided by Zenge. Adams hustles back. Adams a little too heavy on the pressure on Worth after Cadigan stripped Adams free. These have pretty much been predominantly the lineups that both teams have utilized. Although there have been opportunities for guys on both teams to make their call-ups to their respective first teams with the runs in the US Open Cup as of recently, and that is miscommunication by Bazan and Stokes, just giving a freebie to Columbus. Granted, keep in mind, Bazan is making his first appearance in the Red Bull organization, first team or second, versus Aiden Stokes, who's been here since 2023, so a much different set of familiarity between those two. As Gimbal continues to move it up, Bazan forcing the hand of Chirinos out of play. Or forcing the foot, rather, but grasping at straws at that point. Zenge back in for Columbus. Bombly keeps it along, edge of the area, lets it off of Sanchez, and that will draw the first corner of the match. All the efforts have been in the run of play and the occasional free kick. Half an hour in, we will see our first corner. Served in, right at the 6. Nelic swipes it away. Adu Giamfi searches for the bouncing ball. Overhead kick. Modelo, kept in by Yangar. Rogers steps up and draws a whistle. The efforts of Chris Rogers to keep possession for Red Bull got dragged down hard by the tandem of Modelo and Yangar. And it was right along the sideline, had some contact with Yangar, and then you had that late slide by Modelo. That might have been what Adams is, or what Rogers, pardon, is really hurting from, was that slide in by Modelo. He just had to eat that one in the back. Rincon will take it, away by New York. Follow up, top of the box is just high. So a couple of sequential stoppage opportunities for Columbus. That was a nice try on the spin around by Isaac Hefes, the center back. Spent the last 2 years at NC State, including that NCAA final team this past winter. A transfer from the University of New Hampshire, where he spent his first 2 years in college play before closing up shop with NC State. And the Wolfpack, Rojas, a pair of assists, gets her on his man. Rojas off the post, still loose. Rojas again, and just wide. But a corner for New York, their first. Rojas has been marked with a secondary assist in both goals so far. Tried to sidestep away, had Pruder beat, but couldn't get through the iron. And then the second one curls around because of the sliding block by Rogers. And this will draw Worth to the four-corner flag for the first time in this match. Nate Worth punched out by Pruder, but still in play. Adugianfi keeps it in bounds as Valencia interrupts it from Chirinos. This portion of the match is brought to you by Hospital for Special Surgery. You saw the New York. You saw that a little deflection by Omar Valencia to send the ball down towards his goal, and because of that, that resulted in a yellow card against New York. For delaying the restart of the game. Chris Rogers, another part of the leadership group of this Red Bull 2 team, was spending a lot of games with the captain's armband on him last year and has been relied on to be an anchor defensively for them again. New York circle it. Valencia steps up. New York continued to bring on offensive pressure as we're in the final 10 minutes of the opening half, as we have discussions with our officiating crew. Some of the physicality, telling them to knock it off. Mario Maric in charge of directing the traffic as our head official in the green. You also have Daniel Simic, Brandon Lucas, and Danielle Cornetta as the rest of our crew. And there goes one of them now, raising the flag. Yangar, too far in front. Bombley, what a move. Has to escape Cadigan. Oh, what a run from Bombley. Might have Bazan beat. Centering feed. Zengi couldn't get it through. Zenge had an opportunity to strike had he possessed it. A chance to reverse for Rojas. He had eyes for Nelic, but intervened by Columbus. Rincon. Rojas draped all over him, wanting to lead Zenge, but Bazan read it. Bazan, a Colombian U20 international, has a decent amount of experience with his former club Pereira in the first division of Colombia, before making his way to Red Bull this year. Slants across, Nelic, she scored the second goal for Rojas, who has an assist on both. Worth recollects. Forward it goes, Yangar. Modelo gets in. New York cycle it. Valencia from deep took a clip out of play. This should be going back to Pruder. This is the 10th time we've seen these two go up against each other. New York Red Bull New York with 6 wins in this previous 9 matches. Columbus with a pair of those in one game that ended in a PK shootout. However, Red Bull have won the last 4 against Columbus, including in a 11-6 goal differential the last 2 matches specifically. That included a 7-4 shootout between these two. I believe that was here at Montclair. Bombley. So much space. Cadigan closing. Even if he did link up with Adams, you had Stokes. But you got to really give it to Kevin Bombley from Coach Higuain, one of the best examples of what players need to have. I actually came to Columbus Crew 2 a year ago on Friday. And for Bombley, he was an interesting prospect for Crew 2. They didn't really know what to expect from him. Came from the Ivory Coast on one of the academy programs in his native country. Didn't speak any English when he first came to the U.S., but has really taken tremendous strides, especially as a leader in the group. The overall intensity and commitment from a guy like Bombley has been vital for Columbus taking the next steps. But if Columbus want to maintain that pace, they'll have another stoppage favoring New York to look out for. To the box, headed out, back in play. What a read by Quinton Elliott before that reaches, rolled Mitchell. Adu Giampi, Elliott's ahead. Elliott around Valencia. Elliott keeping it alive and keeping it to the Crew. After the New England game, Columbus has really been trying to focus on being better at their final third decision-making. What to do in the key moments, whether if it's the pass or the shot. They weren't able to keep it deep in Red Bull territory, but they do claim it back near center. Rincon dumped by Mitchell. Down the sideline, Bazan gets in front of Zenge. Especially for New York, it's been a seamless transition. When Dominic Voller and Michael Bradley were both a part of the Red Bull staff last year, with Bradley as the second team head coach and Voller as the first team assistant. Rojas, he wants it. Up the gut, still with it. Rojas couldn't get by the barricade in yellow. The structure and communication and the overall connectivity between the first and second teams, especially because there was no little introduction period. We're just trying to build the relationship and just get to know each other. That doesn't really exist for Red Bull throughout this year because there was that continuity of at least personnel from the off season, just in different roles, but at the very least understanding each other and knowing what each other are thinking were some of the key points that Dominic Vollert made when talking about his relationship with Michael Bradley and how vital it's been to allowing this Red Bull 2 team to explode again the way that they have. Especially when we talked about him as a coach, he just wants to emphasize being a good human being first and foremost, connecting with everyone around him. It's that classic adage of no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care, and Vollert has most certainly exemplified that as a near perfect fit for the head job for Red Bull 2. He started with the organization back in 2022 as the assistant of analysis. That's a whole nother story in itself. Adams chips it up. Bombly interrupted by Rojas. Just for the record, by the way, assistant of analysis was Dominic Vollert's first job with Red Bull New York back in 2022. Essentially designing the match plan, game in and game out, whether if it's video research, plans on the pitch, X's and O's of the other team. Those were really the things that he was in charge of before being an assistant last year. It was more in the training aspect of things, and all that combined experience helps him now. Yangor, he's free, might have a breakaway, but stopped by Pruder. Columbus need to escape their own end with minutes closing in the first half. Closing in the final seconds of the first half, will Red Bull New York have the 2-0 lead on Columbus Crew 2. Nate Worth and Dennis Nelic, the goal scorers, both of them with the assist by Dennis Yangor and the secondary assist from Andy Rojas. For Rojas in particular, that puts him at 5 goal contributions in the last 4 games. And we're only halfway through this one, with a likely short stoppage time expected. Modelo all the way up from his right back spot. Modelo shimmies across the 18, lays it back. Nelic the attempt, but Pruder got there in time.
Your attention, please. Before the pitch on this side is indicated, there will be a minimum of 2 minutes of stoppage time the first half.
Two bonus minutes here in the first half in a 2-0 game for New York. Columbus have struggled to get out of their own end at parts of this game. Just trying to find the space. But Red Bull have closed in almost every time. Zenge widens, Gimble. Could Columbus make a push before the end of the half? Comes across diagonally, out of range for Adu Giamfi. Dennis Nelic with it again. What a ball for Yangor. He waits for help. He gets it in Worth, side of the net. It deflects in. Nate Worth is on a warpath. He might have got his second goal of the game, and Red Bull are up by 3 just before the half ends. You had that ball from Nelic across for Yangor, and then it comes across to Worth. Whether or not you had Roald Mitchell driving the net, who knows, but Nate Worth is trying to put this team on his back as the captain of this squad. didn't have a goal across any of his time with Red Bull New York, either in the USL Championship when he started with the team way back in the day, or even now with Red Bull 2 in MLS Next Pro. And they did confirm that Roald Mitchell got the deflection on the Worth service.
Number 33, Roald Mitchell. Red Bull 2.
So you had Roald Mitchell driving the net, and it just goes off of him before it goes into the back of the net. Team leading 4 goals. Nate Worth, the energizer on that play. And Red Bull New York are up by 3 as we go to half. Coming up at the halftime, one of the best young stars in MLS traces his soccer roots as Red Bull New York are up 3-0 on Columbus Crew 2. More from Montclair after this.
Yeah, boys hear sentiment, flow tastes sweet like cinnamon. Open up doors, I'm a gentleman. View top floor, I'm still sticking ahead of them. Running on fumes and adrenaline. Do what I do best, can rush in like a roulette. You can't name a better duet. Don't ask questions, trying to figure out what sound. Don't worry about what next, just wanna know what's next. Man, I say it so loud. Don't worry about what next, just know we got now. Oh yes, man, I say it oh so proud. Don't worry about what next, just know we got now.
Should be a fun season of MLS Next Pro. Oh my! Pedrinho wins it!
Back on the campus of Montclair State at MSU Soccer Park, Red Bull leads Columbus 3-0. On Wednesday, Julian Hall scored the first goal in a wild match for Red Bull New York. After helping Red Bull 2 to the Next Pro Cup Championship a year ago, let's take a look at one of the young rising stars from Red Bull New York.
Julian Hall, remember the name. It's that man again, Julian Hall. His goal, it goes in.
Mehmeti, has he broken through here? Mehmeti across, Hall!
Swinging ball towards the back post, it goes. Open goal for Red Bull New York, Julian Zakrzewski Hall.
Born in Manhattan, New York, Julian Hall found the game the same way a lot of kids in this city do.
I first kind of started playing soccer when I was around 4 years old. I would play a lot wherever I could, if it was a field near my apartment or wherever I could, basically. And I just remember, falling in love with the game and wanting to play as much as I can. There's a main place I would play. It's pretty popular in Manhattan. It's called Pier 40, and a lot of people go there. That's where I played with Manhattan Kickers. It's kind of where I really started to realize I really wanted to play soccer seriously and maybe make it professionally.
That love for the game turned into an opportunity, a move into one of the top academies in the country.
Julian came into our system at U14. I think he played about 3 or 4 games with the U14s. I was a U15 coach at the time, so I was observing those games, and you could see straight away he was a special talent. So he quickly got moved up an age group to play with the U15s that season. Made an instant impact with the older age groups.
The level changed quickly, and so did the expectations.
I was very excited to come in and show my ability and you know, I was playing with my age and I was playing a year up, and the intensity was a different level, I would say, from what I've ever played at that point in my life. So yeah, no, it's an amazing experience.
Chimueno scored off the bench against Seattle, and Julian Hall with the breakthrough. The Golden Boot leader rises to the occasion, and we've got an electric finish here in the U15 final.
He's one of those players that can get you up off your feet. Like, he's direct, he can take players on, he can score goals from inside the box, outside the box in really different ways. And, you know, it would always amaze you how he would find goals in the game.
The next step brought a new set of challenges.
That was the biggest jump for me, going from academy to professional football. The intensity, the physicality, the football, it was all quicker than anything I had experienced before. And, you know, I just thought I did a good job of staying level-headed and not being discouraged about little things.
Working to the midfield, now Gonzalez entering the box, across and a goal! Julian Hall puts the Red Bulls 2 on the board.
I was lucky to be coached by Ibrahim Sakaya, and Bradley Wright Phillips was there a lot of the time as well. They did a good job of helping me progress and helping me not get discouraged and keep going every single day and working hard. The coaching staff really, you know, mended me very well.
Like, he's always striving to try and get better at something within games and training. And then, you know, why he adapts well, he's a natural goal scorer.
For Julian, it was about staying level and keeping the work the same.
Jules.
When you go to a professional environment, if you're doing the most amount of work and you're clearly working harder than everyone else, it stands out to a lot of people, and that can be something that separates you from everyone else. If you're a hard worker, that can get you to a lot of places, and I think that's just something that established me when I first came into the first team.
That work and mentality has paid off with the fast start of the season.
We're really happy with the way that he's moving himself forward. He has taken the ideas and has really shown that he is picking things up. Obviously, there's the attacking part, his ability to find chances, his ability to take balls on the move, to dribble, to go by guys, run in the box. The part that goes with it is how much work he does for us against the wall, how much pressing, how much sprinting, how much chasing, how much work he does to really make the game difficult on the other team. And so we're really, really happy with the progress that he's made. We're going to continue to push him.
As he continues to grow, so does the chemistry with his teammates around him.
I've known Julian for a very long time now. I see the way he works in training. I'm getting to know him more and more, obviously, as we play together on and off the field. And then when I step onto the field, I know where he's going to be on the field, what his positioning is like, where he wants the ball, left foot, right foot. And we're kind of growing that connection, which has been going in a really good way, and hopefully, you know, to grow that connection even more.
Mehmeti, has he broken through here? Mehmeti across, Hall! 2-0!
I think it's just the trust with the coaching staff. Coach Michael, he's done a great job with us during preseason and putting trust in me to start the first couple games. It's a lot of credit to him for putting his belief in me. Obviously, I have to go out there and perform to the best of my ability, and thankfully, I've got a couple goals so far. The goal is to keep progressing throughout the season.
Talent and work ethic have helped Julian's dreams come true faster than even he could have predicted.
I've always dreamt of becoming a professional soccer player, but I never really expected it to happen so fast, to be honest. You know, earlier that year, I was still just playing academy, and I was progressing well, but I never thought it would lead to signing a contract later that year. So it's kind of a lesson there just to be ready for anything, and anything can happen very, very quickly. You really just have to put your all into whatever you're doing, and things can happen. I think a big thing is just self-belief, because when I was playing in MLS Next, I was signing a contract later that season. I had no idea. I did not have a plan on signing that year. That was not in my plan at all. I think things like that can come from just you doing as much as you can, and things will just happen by itself, you know. As long as you're working hard and giving 100% every single day, you know, good things will happen. And, you know, thankfully things came to me that year, and, you know, you got to be grateful and you got to use it as much as you can to your abilities.
We're back here at MSU Soccer Park where Red Bull New York lead Columbus Crew 2 3-0 at the half. A lot of that come to the overall contributions as we also take a look across all of MLS Next Pro. Already a nice slate of games so far in match week 8 with even some of the leftovers of match week 7. You had a nice little opening game there between Toronto and New York to open up match week 8. Carolina and Crown Legacy went all the way to the shootout, and then you also have more action from around the league. Red Bull New York will make their way to Philly next time out after this game. That's part of a back-to-back set of road games with them and Toronto. For Columbus Crew 2, they don't play again until Sunday the 3rd. They will come home to play Inter Miami 2 before they take a full week to get a back-to-back against Cincinnati and Philly. Especially for these two teams, if they want to stay amongst the top of the Eastern Conference, they'll have to take care of business. But in the first half, it was all New York getting business done as they have the 3-0 lead at the half. But Columbus did get a couple of opportunities, attempted feeds into the center. You have guys like Bombley and Adams going after it. Here was Zach Zengay getting an opportunity early on in the game, but the door blew wide open about 20 minutes into the game. Yangar, the centering feed for Nate Worth to open up the scoring. That was in the 19th minute of play. You had the assist from Yangar and by Rojas, and another setup from Yangar and Rojas, this time from Dennis Nelic, perfectly chipped in at the arch. Nestled into the bottom corner by Nelic. That put things at 2-0 in the 25th minute, and then in first half stoppage time, Nate Worth sends it across into the back of the net. Luke Pruder couldn't do anything about it, and we still have the credit going to Mitchell. That's where we stand halfway through this one. Second half of play between Red Bull New York and Columbus Crew when we return.
Yeah, boys hear sentiment, flow tastes sweet like cinnamon. Open up doors, I'm a gentleman. View top floor, I'm still sticking ahead of them. Running on fumes and adrenaline. Do what I do best, can't rush in like a roulette. You can't name a better duet. Don't ask questions, trying to figure out what sound. Don't worry about what next, just wanna know what's next. Man, I say it so loud. Don't worry about what next, just know we got now. Oh yes, man, I say it oh so proud. Don't worry about what next, just know we got now.
Should be a fun season of MLS Next Pro. Oh my! Pedrinho wins
it! The unique energy of a Sunday night. Ideal for calm music, whispers, stargazing, reflection, and a relaxed environment. Sunday nights were made for this.
We are back in Montclair, New Jersey, MSU Soccer Park on the campus of Montclair State University, where Red Bull New York have a very decisive but not yet complete 3-goal lead on Columbus Crew 2. These two were tied towards the top of the table with 14 points apiece, currently occupying second and third in the Next Pro table heading into today. Both Columbus and New York are still aiming to catch up to Crown Legacy, who have built that insurmountable 21 points in the opening 8 games of their season. But also potential opportunity for a team like New York or Columbus if they get back into things, considering how Columbus and Red Bull have games in hand on Crown Legacy. New York, 2 extra games in hand with 7 points behind. Granted, it doesn't help that New York maybe coughed up a couple points from the PK shootout. But regardless, there's still a chase to potentially reclaim that #1 spot for New York. And for Columbus, they're just trying to tread water for the time being. Especially being down 3-0, which is possibly bringing up war flashbacks from a year ago. They haven't had a deficit this great pretty much all season long, aside from week 1 against these very Red Bulls, where they were at one point down by 3, 4-1 at the half. They climbed back to make it 4-2. Columbus on New York, the first time these two played, and we return for the second half where Red Bull New York are in the black. They will work right to left in the all black, in the yellow and black. Left to right will be Columbus crew. Ryan Lee and our entire MLS Next Pro crew coming from Montclair, New Jersey at MSU Soccer Stadium. Both teams in the top 3 of Next Pro's Eastern Conference, 14 points apiece, only trailing Crown Legacy. And Federico Higuain ready to change some things up for the second half of play. Brent Adujiamfi will go to the bench, which will allow Rui Aoki to come in. Rui Aoki, the 23-year-old from Japan, spent last year with Vermont to bookend his NCAA career. Transferred twice across his college campaigns were Rui Aoki. Started off at Barton Community College back in 2021, played a pair of years there. Transferred to UMass Lowell to try to at least climb up the NCAA ladder. He was there for a pair of seasons from 23 to 24 before wrapping things up in college with University of Vermont, who were at the time fresh off of their national title. Centering feed headed into the hands of Stokes. What a chance for Zenge. He hasn't had one of those since early in the first half, but gets the first major chance to open the second half. Second try, blocked up top. Rolling it through, Andy Rojas on a couple of assists. He's got Rincon beat. Rojas still with it, slid out of play. Way to make your introduction into the game from Rui Aoki, but it forces a corner to New York. Second corner of the game, 1 per half so far for New York. And we have some tangle ups inside the box that Mario Maric might need to sort out. In swinger. Pruder slipped, but some contact inside the box. It's been all New York through about 50 minutes of play, if you include the couple of minutes of stoppage time. Not only controlling possession, but really making that fluidity of the offense cause all sorts of trouble for the Crew. 7-1 differential in the shots on target, with that 12-4 differential on just the attempts. And just by the sheer law of averages, this is excellent for New York, having 3 goals to this point because of how efficient their offense has been. Nalic ignites again, out of Rojas's reach. Interrupted, Yangar too high. Yangar on a trio of assists, by the way, completely slept on. Primary assist to Worth and to Nelic, and got the secondary assist for Mitchell. He has been a sleeping giant in this game, considering a lot of the front 6 for New York have been finding ways to absolutely feast. Nate Worth a goal and assist. Nalic gets the first goal. Rojas with a pair of assists. Roll Mitchell's on the board. And you can even argue it's a front 5, considering that Devin Cadigan has been dropping back a good amount to help the defensive efforts. Kind of a, it's listed as a kind of a 4-3-3, but they play it more like a 4-1-4-1. Kind of have those 5 attacking players and 5 more defensive players. Regardless, New York have been making it work fantastically so far. Modelo from Yangar. Bobbled it towards Rincon. Gimple goes down. Free kick, Columbus. Quinton Elliott sprints ahead to the center. Zenge stopped by Stokes. Rebound side of the net. Looking for a chance in front. Zenge gets it in front. Columbus respond a half a dozen minutes after the break, and they've cut this deficit. It's now 3-1. Columbus have had opportunities, they just haven't had many of them. The recovery by the Crew to get that rebound on the far side. That looks like it was Alex Gimple who saved it off of the end line and was able to find the feed in front. Columbus now have a goal for a really strong offensive unit that's top 10 in Next Pro. Had 12 goals across the initial 7 matches, but had run cold for that initial 50-some-odd minutes. And a nice slide by Aoki to prevent it from getting to Rold Mitchell. Bombley wanted to curve it around. Nalic leaves it for Bazan. Bazan with options, centering feed. Worth wanted to go back to Bazan. Oh, if that connected, what an opportunity that could have been to get him his magical debut to keep it running. Cadigan keeps it, but got lost in the process. Bombley around. Couldn't get around Sanchez. Adams helps Columbus recoup and retreat. for Zenge. That puts him at 4 goals across the last 3 matches for him. 22-year-old in his first season with Columbus. And then you have the assist credit to Alex Gimple. Only 2 goal contributions across 2 years with Crew 2. Set to join the Michigan Wolverines when the fall semester comes in the NCAA for the 17-year-old. Obviously, you have instances in guys like Zach Zenge who goes back to the respective MLS Next Pro / MLS organizations after going to the NCAA. But also, granted, Zenge was drafted.
Go! Again! Yeah, turn again, Johan. Well done.
This portion of the match is brought to you by Sports Illustrated Tickets. Yengar. Red Bull keeping it on the right side. To the center circle, Sanchez. A lot of the overarching concepts that build the culture of Red Bull New York very strong, talking about the clinical nature of their system, how they can just be absolutely dominant with it. The focus on the performance, how it leads to results, and that 90% of full potential isn't enough. They want to be a team on the front foot, being proactive and not reactive in any situations. And it's garnered some of the immediate success for Dennis Vollert and this Red Bull side, but they have to look out. Centering feed for Adams, and that forces Stokes out of his box to clear it away. Had that linked up to Chase Adams, who knows what could have happened there. Especially for Adams, trying to maybe earn another shot with Columbus Crew's top side, considering that he made his debut with Columbus's top team in the second round of the Open Cup, where they straight up dominated USL League One's Richmond Kickers in the Open Cup. Worth slants it. Yengar couldn't get past his man. He had to duel with Elliott. And a mishandle by Columbus will give it back to New York for another corner. And this is a Red Bull team that can absolutely pepper opponents. They generate the most shooting opportunities, but they've also been one of the worst at converting and at least getting those attempts on frame, but they've been excellent today. Third corner of the match. Swung out. Available. Bazan off the line. Rebound on the post. Still there. Bazan. He scores. On his debut, Julian Bazan gets his first goal, and Red Bull are up 4-1. This is a scramble play in every way, shape, and form. Bazan got the first try, you had another go off the post, and Bazan just stays with his ground to poke it in, smash it top corner to get it around Pruder, and Red Bull have reclaimed their 3-goal lead. The first game in the Red Bull organization for Julian Bazan. The Colombian at 20 years old, making his presence felt. You also had that play at the beginning of the second half where Worth was actually trying to set up Bazan into the box for a seam pass on the through ball, but just couldn't link up. Bazan had his struggles early on, especially defensively, but as the game's gone on, he's really built his game and his presence within it. Red Bull back in their own end of the pitch to prevent anything further from Columbus. Valencia had a double team on him, escapes towards Sanchez. And for Red Bull, they want to keep carrying, but Zenge starts it. Adams from an angle, bouncer, swallowed up by Stokes. Quite another test coming up for Red Bull New York. A Philadelphia Union 2 side that are fresh off a 2-1 win earlier today against CT United is the next opponent for Red Bull New York. It's next Sunday, the 3rd, which will be in Philly, so likely they'll be playing at Subaru Park. And just as we mentioned, Red Bull New York, they'll make a pair of changes. You got Mahir Jimenez and Connor Fiello along the sideline, with Omar Valencia and his yellow card coming to the bench, and Rold Mitchell getting a goal just in first half stoppage time to make his contributions well felt. You take off the team's leading goal scorer and you bring on the team's leading playmaker in Mahir Jimenez. 3 assists so far in the year for the 19-year-old Panamanian. And you have contact by the sideline and the yellow card raised up towards Quentin Elliott.
That's fine. Keep going. Keep working.
These are two teams who have been very disciplined throughout the entire year. Both within the bottom of the league in fouls and yellow cards, even though New York have one of the highest fouling teams. They haven't done enough to really get on the book very much. Sanchez steps up. He wants to give it a go and had the curl, but not the angle to get it in. This portion of the match is brought to you by Toyota. Just so much to consider when you talk about the form that New York are on and how just well put together they've been through and through, especially with just some of these little ideals that have just helped them just find that minute way to continue improving time in and time out. Just trying to focus on how the players are closer to their ideal and their potential every time they touch the pitch. Worth. Modelo jumps in. Back to Worth. He wants to serve it. He had Jimenez at the middle of the box. Back in. Jimenez touches. Miscommunication. Rojas. Fiello jumps in. Fiello doesn't have the angle. Zenge. Adams twirls away from pressure. Has room to split it. Gimple. Centers. Not there for Zenge. Adams collects it from a range, but it's, again, held on by Stokes. Gotta give some credit to Chase Adams, at least giving those a try. At least allowing that opportunity. Jimenez with room, slides it across. Yangar with space, taken down top of the area, and it's not a penalty, but it's about 6 inches off of it for a free kick. And with the stoppage, this will be where New York will make their changes. You have a defensive change for a couple of key offensive playmakers in this game, just trying to get those guys in the rotation for depth. Ben Rodriguez in for Dennis Yangar, and then you have Julian Bazan. What a debut for him, 66 minutes and a goal for Shunya Sakai, 18-year-old Japanese center back, who is on loan for Amira Ardija in the Japanese youth ranks. And another 18-year-old Ben Rodriguez from the Red Bull Academy. So that puts New York 4 subs deep. Columbus have only attempted the 1. As Worth takes a free kick at the edge of the box. Worth to goal! Off of Pruder, still there. Jimenez couldn't swipe it in. It's cleared away by Columbus. Swatted down by Sakai. Keeps it moving for Modelo. And Ben Rodriguez will slow down the pace and retreat towards Sakai. What a collection by Nelic. Chips it. Jimenez leaves it. Rodriguez back for Worth. Couldn't fire. Rodriguez off the back of his leg, and that allows Gimple to send it to center. And Sanchez gets dropped. This was that last free kick by Worth, and if Pruder didn't get there, that could have been an absolute banger of a goal. But the read and the reach of the 6'5", 210 Luke Pruder, formerly of UC Irvine. 3-2-1 across 6 games this year. But we'll at least, assuming Columbus does not come back, at least still treading water by 500 as Jimenez twirls around. Rodriguez fights for it as he got completely dragged down for a yellow card. That's Rincon, and that's another dangerous free kick given straight to New York.
And your attention, please. The referee has issued a yellow card to Columbus Crew 2, number 30, Nico Rincon, in the 69th minute.
So right as Nico Rincon gets a yellow card, he and his yellow card will go to the bench. Moses Nyman will take a spot. O'Neal Taylor will replace Chase Adams. But we still have the issue of the free kick coming up at the top of the area. But that is the entryway for O'Neal Taylor, first year in Next Pro, 6 games in for the Academy product. This time it's Rojas, sends it to goal, too high.
And your attention, please. A pair of substitutions for the Columbus Crew 2.
This portion of the match is brought to you by Hospital for Special Surgery.
O'Neal Taylor. O'Neal replaced number 46, Chase Adams. Also enters match number 33, Moses Nyman. Moses replaced number 30, Nico Rincon.
So you have 3 subs deep for Federico Higuain. 4 have been used by Dennis Vollert. Columbus, they do get opportunities to springboard back into the top of the Eastern Conference ranks, considering that they play 2 of the teams that are currently amongst the bottom of the conference in the next 2 weeks, where they have to open May with Inter Miami 2, who are winless in their opening 7 games. What a feed, Rodriguez on the angle, stopped by Pruder, out of play, corner, Red Bull. New York have continued to just get the ball to the goal, and they have done so excellently. You've built your way up to 21 shot attempts if you're Red Bull New York, and maybe another with their 4th corner of the match, 3rd in this half alone. As we're in the 72nd minute, scooped in, headed, caught by Pruder, as you also had Amor Sanchez in the mix. With the final 20 minutes of regulation, it all started in the 19th with Worth, 25th from Nelich, first half stoppage time from Rold Mitchell, and in the 58th from the debutant Julian Bazan. And some of these helper numbers are just absolutely ridiculous when you look at them, whether if it's Dennis Yangar with a trio of assists, Andy Rojas has 2, Worth's got a goal and an assist. Turned over, Nelich gives it a go, and high. Controlled by Rodriguez. Nelich already on a goal, leaves it, Rojas. Rodriguez got tangled up as you had the swarm of black and yellow in the area. Trying to tell Andy Rojas, you know what it is. Zenge spun down awkwardly for a Columbus free kick. As mentioned before, maybe a chance to recoup for Columbus with the two teams trailing the Eastern table with Miami and Cincinnati upcoming. Johan Chirinos on the free kick. Low ball blocked off. Fiello got in front. Just ping-ponging back and forth. No one can truly claim it. What a ball in front, looking for Taylor. Couldn't get around Stokes. You have Taylor down in the area. New York play on. Taken back for Columbus, wanting to go up the gut. Nyman couldn't get around, he battles, and Cadigan wins it. Rojas with room. Rojas, 5-on-4, splits it across. Waits, Nelic, still with it. Nelic couldn't get there. You have to really respect some of the individual efforts from a guy like Dennis Nelic. Hasn't really had a lot of opportunities. This is only his 6th start in MLS Next Pro. However, he's been called upon quite a bit more this year than his first year with Red Bull, just getting his feet wet in the league. He's got 4 starts across 6 matches this year compared to in 15 matches last year, only 2 starts. So you really have seen some of the overall development of guys like Dennis Nelic. And then you go to the other end of the spectrum. The 16-year-old O'Neal Taylor was on the breakaway with Stokes. And you just had that one-on-one between O'Neal Taylor and Aiden Stokes. Couldn't beat Stokes. And within that sequence, Taylor just got dropped inside of New York's penalty box area. And this will give way to some evaluation from the medical crew. And this was that breakaway opportunity for Taylor. A nice feed from center by Nyman. But you could see Stokes got the leg out, so you're not going to get a red card from him for any handball outside the box. That easily went off his leg. But you saw the trailing leg of Taylor, kind of when you have the lead foot in your running form, trying to get back to the front foot, just got tangled up with Stokes' leg, the same one that made the save. That's just a coincidental bang-bang play, nothing real malicious or crazy about it. And what this also allows is this allows the goal scorer Zach Zenge to sit down for the rest of the match, maybe after seeing Taylor go down, not wanting to risk any more of the top player's health. And also opportunities for Gio DeLibra to come into the match in the 78th minute. Hasn't played since June of last year in a match against Philly. Making his season debut is DeLibra, the 20-year-old. Rojas in the middle. Jimenez trapped in a double team, but wins it back. No, he didn't, because it was foul. For Dominic Vollert, really happy with the way that his team have been closing out games, talking about the overall strength and dominance they had to end out the Cincinnati game with a 3-1 win after that one. How the style of play has only grown in confidence, especially because they've had some lackluster first halves against Cincinnati in New England. They wanted more out of their guys to open up the game. And then you have this game where they came out of the gate absolutely flying. You had those 3 goals in the final about 25 minutes. And then they just kept that train rolling and didn't let up the gas at any point throughout this game. Haven't necessarily strangled Columbus on a defensive side of things, but they have just been beating them by reps on reps. Here's O'Neal Taylor on a breakaway, alone on Stokes, and he gets the save. Taylor works again into the area, and no one is there on the feed. That was right into the feet of Devin Cadigan. And we will see the fifth and final sub by Dom Vollert. Another one of the goal scorers goes to the bench at the 80th minute. This allows the 19-year-old Aiden Jarvis to come in, a youth international with Antigua and Barbuda. Has only played in 3 games this year and has 64 across 4 years with Red Bull New York. So that should pretty much about do it for any changes Dominic Vollert's going to attempt. And then you have a situation here with Aiden Stokes. He's actually flipped his international affiliation twice throughout his very young youth international career. Stokes is only 18, keep in mind. But he started off at the U15 level with Team USA. And then when he built his way up to the U16 level, he joined Wales' squad. And most recently, his international experience with the U17s of England. So good to know for Aiden Stokes, if he continues the upward trajectory he's been on at Next Pro, he has a plethora of choices internationally between the UK and the US. And what a hustle back by Amar Modello to strip it away as Gimple is fighting Modello for it. Final 10 minutes of this match, final Sunday of April. Red Bull 2 versus Columbus Crew 2. Red Bull are up 4-1. Ryan Lee and the rest of our MLS Next Pro crew, we thank you for joining us on the campus of Montclair Estates MSU Soccer Park on a relatively chill 56-degree day here in Montclair. Red Bull New York, the first team. No one was available because they were in Cincinnati yesterday to an unsuccessful result, a 2-0 win to the Garys. And then you have the second team of Columbus coming here to New Jersey, while the first team was back at home, shutting out Philly Union 2-0. Taylor is behind Bombley. Jarvis allows Rojas to operate the sideline, still with it. He had Elliott all over him. Jimenez ahead of the pack. Jimenez settles, denied by Pruder. Jarvis the follow-up. Rojas wants it. Pruder gobbles it in. So assuming the result holds, this would be a potential 5th consecutive win for New York on Columbus. Across the prior 4, they've doubled up the goals from Columbus, 14-7 across the 4 matches. The last 4 they played. These two will play one more time this year after The 4-2 loss to open the year for Columbus against New York. And that was also back here in Montclair, just for the record. But these two will see each other one more time to begin August. August 8th at historic Crew Stadium. Out of reach of Quentin Elliott. Taylor gives it right back to New York. This gives way for Connor Fiallo, who made his debut the last time, or midway through the month in New England. But for Federico Higuain's squad, it's not all doom and gloom. You're still, even with today's result, you're still within the top 4 of the Eastern Conference on a 16-team field. And with that being said, there are a lot of opportunities here to gain points. Like we mentioned earlier, they have a home date against Miami, second to last in the East. And then you get Cincinnati right after, who are trailing the conference. Before you really get battle tested again versus Philly Union at Subaru Park. And then playing a Toronto team that have already vastly improved from last year. Gimple goes down. Modelo will join the book. Second year on loan from CA Independiente in the Panamanian Leagues for the 21-year-old. Was out for a good chunk of the year. Last year was Modelo because of shoulder problems. Another free kick given to Columbus, but they haven't been able to make good on either of them. Dropped off, Gimple, the attempt, Jimenez across, Fiallo gets a clip, and Elliott watches it roll out. Elliott wants it deep. To the result of a Stokes goal kick in the final 5. But you have to remember Federico Higuain's history in Next Pro. Might have been a tough first year with Columbus, sure, but already a significant turnaround from the misfortunes of last year. And this was the exact same story that he dealt with across his 2 seasons with Inter Miami too. They were last in the Eastern Conference in 2023 before becoming a top 3 team in the conference in 2024 when he was with the Herons for those 2 seasons. And already seems to be on pace to do the same with Columbus Crew 2. And even if the result holds the way it is, they're still top 3 in the East in points scored with Philly Union 2. O'Neal Taylor, edge of the area, lost control. You'd have 14 points shared between Philly Union and Columbus Crew, both by means of 4 wins and a PK win. However, Philly technically jumped Columbus to 3rd versus Columbus at 4th because of the game in hand that Philly has over Columbus. That could be another interesting top matchup in the Eastern Conference come May 17th when the Crew travel to the Union. Touched up by Pruder. The attempted feed across was going to Rodriguez. At least you still see with the fleeting minutes of regulation, New York are still going for it. For Columbus, it's a unit that has continuously been challenged by the coaching staff, just trying to put some pressure on them and try to really get the most out of them while trying to be supportive of everything they do along the way, especially from the time and training that kind of builds into the process over a 2-year stretch to not only improve, but essentially turn the entire train around. As we are in the final of 90. Four different goal scorers for New York: Worth, Nelich, Mitchell, and Bozon. Three extra minutes in this match between Red Bull New York and Columbus Crew. Sanchez blocked it away. Elliott's ahead. Lays it back with DeLibra and Rogers. It's a game that New York has dominated from the get-go and continue to do so, doubling up on shots and shots on target, 25-10 in the attempts department, 13-7 of the on targets. New York trying to show that they are once again more than capable of championship contention. Columbus Crew too, even to a 4-3-1 start in the first 8 games of the year, have most certainly already shown that they are well on pace to right the ship from being last year in the conference in 2025. Red Bull New York would stay perfect through 7 games at a 5-0-2 mark. Taylor continuing to stay in the fight as we're through 2 minutes of the added 3. DeLibra and Nyman. Bombley around. Gimple comes in. Returns. Bombley drops it. Couldn't get it through. Was Chirinos. Still looking for his first goal contribution of the season. Even though being a reliable starter in 7 of 8 this year so far. Bombley. Cadigan got back before Taylor could. Two straight on the road upcoming for New York, in Philly, in Toronto. Columbus go back home to play Inter Miami 2 before having a back-to-back on the road themselves in Cincy and in Philly. And with the final whistle blown, Red Bull New York remain perfect. 5 wins on the year as they dominate Columbus Crew 2 with the final 4-1. We recap this match as our man of the match is presented by Adidas. And even though he didn't get any in the back of the net, he most certainly has been a catalyst for all of it. Dennis Yangar, a trio of assists today all across those first 3 goals that really ignited the attack. You got that primary assist both in the Nelich and Worth goal, and even got the secondary goal on the Mitchell goal 2 that was fired off by Worth. Nelich is your man of the match, and Red Bull New York will claim this one by a final 4-1. Don't forget, you can watch MLS Next Pro all season long at MLSNextPro.com and OneFootball. For our entire MLS Next Pro broadcast crew, my name is Ryan Lee. Thank you so much for joining us. Red Bull New York remain perfect at 5-0-2. They win this one 4-1. Thank you for joining us. Have a great rest of your night.
This copyrighted broadcast of Major League Soccer may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of Major League Soccer.